Jason. How you doing today?
Doing good, Chris. How about you?
I can't complain.
There you go. Nice. Welcome to Leading and Serving Podcast.
Yep.
I mean, our goal is to serve those that we lead, those we love, those that we lead, and just fight for their highest good.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. And we have been having some good guests on lately.
Yes, we have.
I mean, if you're just tuning in and you haven't caught like Trail Kelly or Chief Jeremy Pell over the last few episodes, man, go back and catch those. Those were some good conversations.
A lot of good nuggets in those.
That's right. So you surviving the summer?
So far, so good. It's been warm, but I mean, it's been good. It's just busy. This summer always brings a lot of stuff.
Right.
Just trying to keep up with it all. How about you?
I mean, it's just hot, and we're surviving. But it's
your air conditioner went out the other day, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it sure did.
Is
of
it
course,
fixed?
On the holiday weekend,
right?
On a Friday night at like 10 o'clock at night,
because that's when they go out, right?
Of course.
You didn't get the memo.
Yeah. It just said we're done.
Yeah.
And so I called my friend Chris Wood. Do you know him?
Don't call Chris Wood.
No. I appreciate you figuring out how to get me up and running.
For sure.
So
I'm
much.
Glad to help.
Yeah, but by the time this episode drops, I hope to be out west.
Yeah.
We've got a family vacation
Getting
planned
a little hotter out there.
I haven't been checking I haven't been checking weather yet. We're about a week away from leaving. So
don't need to look into it too much.
I just hope I get one of those crisp, cool, mountain air nights, even if it is in July.
Yeah. And where are you going?
In Denver area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
so
lived there
chance.
we lived there for over a decade, and the summers are hot. I mean, the sun gets hot during the day, but
you can go up in the mountains.
It feels good, and so we get to connect with some friends and family, and
Cool.
we're looking forward to that. It'll be good.
That's
It'll
awesome.
Be good.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, we are going to jump back to a tool that we introduced early in the podcast.
Okay.
Called the 70-30 principle, and we just want to just kind of refresh our thinking around this, because this is one of those tools that you want to just kind of self-evaluate every once in a while and just say, hey, where am I at? Where am I trending up? Am I trending down on this?
Right.
Am I moving in the right direction? Because a lot of times, as leaders, we take on new tasks, we take on a new project, we do something that we don't. I mean, one of my, maybe it's my strength, but it's also my weakness. I love learning new things.
Yeah.
And so new projects come along. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be a part of that. Yeah.
Right.
And so I jump on it. But then I start getting into the project going, okay, this was fun on the front end, but now it's not. I've learned it, and now I'm ready to kind of hand this off to somebody. You know? And sometimes I hold on to stuff too long, which would cause my 70-30 to start trending downward. That I might be hanging on to things. And so let's explain that. All right. So there's two different types of activities that we get into. One is just our natural strengths. It's something that we're just naturally good at. We either have the talent, we read half a book and we're like, oh, I got that. I totally understand that. You just jump in and you learn it and you're like, okay, I love this. I love this. And it's something that gives you joy and just kind of energizes you in the end. And so you might even have things in your life that you're really good at that you don't even think about. And if you ask other people, you're like, hey, what do you see in me? They might be like, oh, I just love how good you are at such and such.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I don't even think about that. Exactly.
Right.
It's your unconscious competence. You may not even realize that you're that good at it because it's just so natural to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
And so there's some things in our lives that certainly line up in that area of like, hey, I could kind of do that in my sleep. Then, I love doing a great job and I pour my heart into it. But, if I had to, it just slide out super easy. No big deal. And, so on the other side of that are things that are learned behaviors, learned skills, learned competencies. And so these are your conscious competence. You've gotten good at them because you've had to put the hard work in to figure it out. Like we painted a couple walls in one of our kids' rooms over the week or this week. And my wife, handed me the little edging brush. She goes, I think this part's for you because you're a perfectionist. You enjoy it. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know that I enjoy it. I'll edge along the roof, but It's just because I can't handle the flaws, and so I want to make sure it's absolutely right, even though it's a room that nobody's really going to go in and look at.
Right. So did you knock it out?
We got it done. Yeah. And the room looks pretty good. I know where there's a couple of flaws. But that's a conscious competence.
Right.
It's something that I've learned to do, and I can do it okay. I can do it, passably well. But in the end, it didn't energize me.
No.
I didn't walk out and go, "Oh, that roof line looks so good." It was good.
Right.
It was nice to get it done.
Yeah.
The room looks better, blah, 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 right?
Right.
So that's a learned behavior. That's a conscious competence versus those natural strengths, those natural behaviors that just come to you super easy. You're just unconsciously good at them. And so we want to have a proper balance of that in our lives. Because you can imagine if you lived in that conscious competence, the things that you learn to do well, and you might be at the top of your game on some of these things.
Right.
But it still could be draining. And if that comprises the bulk of your time and your energy and your effort,
right.
Imagine how quick and how fast burnout's going to pursue you.
Right.
Versus if you can, focus on the things that bring you energy, the things that are just supernatural that, that just flow from you. And that's what you do with the bulk of your time. You're going to be ready for the next day.
It's too funny that we're talking about this today because I was having this similar conversation with my coach yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't understand why I am just so out of energy.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, what are you doing? And then we kind of got into it. And I was like, this is driving me nuts. I hate doing this. And he was like, well, there's your problem.
There you go.
Like, it was like, and the crazy part was I was looking at him going, man, I just don't understand. And then he was like, it's right there, Chris. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it was something, I am doing something that I have the conscious competence to do, but it does not bring me energy. It is,
right.
It is, for a lack of better understanding, it's life sucking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just too funny that we're hitting this today.
And it's hard for us to sometimes see it because we have gotten really good at it.
Right.
And we can knock it out, and we might be able to knock it out quick.
Yeah, and we might, and that's we might be able to knock it out quick, and we might be the one in the room that can do the best at it.
Right.
But it doesn't always mean we should be doing it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Oh, 100%.
Because it's like, even though they might do it at 80% and you would have done it at 100%, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So let's talk about the balance. Okay. We got these two things, right?
Right.
The 70-30 principle is that if you can spend 70% of your time doing those unconscious competence, those natural strengths,
right?
Okay, those things that bring you energy, that will give you the ability and the energy to go through the other 30% of the things that drain you.
Right.
Okay. And so measuring that in your life of, like your coach was saying, what are you doing?
Right.
Do you enjoy it? Do you not enjoy it? What,
Trying to break it down for me.
Yeah. And, and so taking a look at, I've even taken weeks where I've written down all the different projects or all the different skills that I was working on that week so that I could kind of get a feel of like, something's dragging me down. I don't know what it is.
Right.
And so as I write them down, I'm thinking, did this really energize me or,
Right.
and if you have that second reaction, start figuring out, all right, how do I minimize that role? Like you said, who do I pass it off to?
Right.
Who else can do this? And maybe they don't do it as well as you, but chances are if it's one of their natural strengths, they're going to very quickly become better than you in it.
Right.
And so,
for sure.
And so take a look at that balance in your life. That around 70-30, 80-20, somewhere in there, you're definitely in a healthy place. That you're in a place that's sustainable. It's energizing. It's because once you get above 90-10, there's no perfect world.
Right.
You're never going to be 100-0.
Right. There's no way.
Always something.
Always.
There's always something.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're like the solopreneur,
right.
Somebody's got to clean the toilets sooner or later, right? And
there's a lot of things you have to do when you're the solopreneur because it is what it is.
Right.
The buck stops with you.
Right.
It just is.
Right. So, you're never going to hit a perfect world, and it's probably not healthy to be in a perfect world either. So, at least with this law. So, somewhere in that 70-30, 80-20 is the sweet spot.
Yep.
If the scale starts tipping in the other direction, if you start getting closer to 50-50 or even 30-70, then when you're spending most of your time doing stuff that drains you, like you said, you're gonna finish Sunday night, moving into Monday morning, going, I don't want to do this again.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And somebody might look at you going, but you're great at what you do.
Right.
Well, I don't care. I don't like it.
Right.
And so it causes that discomfort and, just goodness. Yeah. You don't want to be there. And so look for ways to change that balance and strive for that 70-30. So you can delegate it out. You can hire it out. You can.
Right. And that's the hard part too, as a solopreneur, as you're growing your business. If you're in the midst of that, sometimes hiring it out is the answer.
Right.
And yes, that's going to affect your profit margin.
Right.
And yes, it's okay.
And sometimes it's just okay to stop.
And then there's that,
you
right?
know, how many things
do
we
define that?
You get going, you get in a routine, and months or years down the road, you're like, why am I doing this?
Right.
This drains me. We don't even use these reports.
Right.
But I create them every month.
Right.
Or I do, I always, touch base on, such and such, I mean, this isn't leadership related, but I think about the lady that would cut the pot roast in half before putting it in the oven. You heard this story?
I have. Go ahead, though.
Or cut the ends off and throw them away. That's what it was.
Oh, was it?
She'd cut the ends off of the pot roast and throw it away. And somebody challenged her. She's like, well, that's how my grandmother taught me how to do it.
Yeah.
And, and really got her curious about it. So she went and, talked to her grandma one day. And she's like, Mom, why did you always cut the ends off the pot roast and throw it away? She goes, well, I didn't have a pan big enough.
Yeah. Right.
And now I have a pan big enough, so I don't do that anymore.
So I don't do that anymore.
Well, I've always cut it off, So there's things like that we just do and do and do. And,
right.
And so taking a look at, what we need to stop doing.
Right.
And, is it absolutely critical?
Mm-hmm. So good.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's strive for health in our leadership. Let's, be thinking about these things.
On our forefront.
The teams that you lead, ask your teams, ask your people, like, where do you fit on this?
Right.
Is the job description that you have, the role that you play on our team, is it healthy for you?
Right.
Is this what you want to be doing?
Right.
Or is there something that, we can turn, you might discover some natural strengths in your team members that take you to the next level.
Right.
Just because it's not on the job description, And so, have these conversations, strive for health, and be a leader worth following, man.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Speaking of a fun, upbeat,
great leader.
Yeah. Tell us about our interview today, man.
So his name is Dave Beasley, and he is on the local police department here at Forsythia Grove, and just a phenomenal guy. I'm super excited to talk to him. Great guy. I love his upbeat attitude, and so I am looking forward to him sharing some of his wisdom, because he's also a coach, a tennis coach.
Yeah.
And so he's leading kids day in and day out from multiple facets.
Yeah.
And so
through sports and through
and through the police department. So
schools,
he gets an interaction with them two different ways. So
That's
which
really
is just, I'm looking forward to chatting with him about that. So
sounds good.
Let's do this.
Let's jump over.
Okay. Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be on here. Thanks for inviting me.
Let's talk about you, my friend. Let's get to know you a little better. Give us a little heads up on give me some of your background. Where did you grow up? Where have you hung out? And tell me some of your life story.
All right. I grew up on the south side, Greenwood kid.
Okay.
Born in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Was actually homeschooled.
Okay.
Didn't go to public school. All of us were homeschooled. There were 4 of us.
Oh, wow.
All homeschooled. It was kind of like before homeschooling was a trend. It's kind of a little bit of I feel like a trend now a little, but
You're one of the cool kids now.
Well, it
huh?
was like one of before, like had a bunch of online stuff, and it was like your
Yeah.
mom, you sit and like your mom's teaching you, just a little different than it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were all homeschooled. Actually lived in Whiteland Would have gone to Whiteland Community Schools.
Okay.
But lived and had Greenwood address. Yeah, so Southsider. Moved to Florida for a few years, 3 or 4 years. That's where I picked up tennis.
Nice.
That's where I started. My mom signed me up for a summer tennis camp and kind of hit home from there.
Cool.
I moved to like Boca Raton area, about an hour-ish from Miami on the east coast of Florida. Still love Florida. Go back there. Try it every year.
Nice.
Kind of wish didn't leave. But it's okay. It's all right. I'm
Hey,
not bitter about it.
we're glad you're here. Just saying.
I know.
Just saying.
I get it.
Throw that out there.
I mean, our family's here. I talk with my wife all the time. I'm like, I wish we could just pick up and move. And she's like, well, if mom and dad are here, and her mom and dad are here, so I mean, it's part
So
of it.
all your family's here close too?
Yeah, basically.
There you go.
Yeah.
And your wife's family?
They live. So actually, we dated in high school.
Okay.
And they live probably, I mean, within 5 minutes walking distance, just the neighborhood over.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And her,
Right.
Hannah was homeschooled as well, so
Okay.
homeschool family. So you gotta, I gotta keep it. Homeschool family's got to keep it together.
Keep it together.
Yeah. So you got to keep it in the cult.
That's right.
Yeah.
So after high school?
After high school, I initially thought I was going to go play like big D1 tennis coming out of high school, and I had 2 elbow surgeries.
Oh, wow.
Blew some cartilage off my elbows. Just bad genes.
Okay.
The guys I was training with went to play like Stanford, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And then like the guys I was playing with on the junior circuit, I mean, one guy's like top 30 in the world right now. And
Oh,
I
seriously?
played with him like all the time. Yeah.
Who's that?
His name's Tommy Paul.
Okay.
He's top 30 in the world now.
Wow.
Riley Opelka's out there too. He's like 7 foot. I played with Riley too when I was younger. And
Wow.
So tennis is a small world.
Yeah.
So golf, your country club sports. I mean,
Right.
It's very tight knit. End up having I didn't even play my junior and senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then I was like, I got to go to college. So I called up the IUPUI coach. And I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna see if I can come out and play. And ended up starting first year. Played 4 singles for them, and kind of went on from there. I made the team every year. And
Okay.
that was a blessing for sure.
Very cool.
Paid for school.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Good work.
yeah, ended up have all-time most singles wins there at IUPUI. So
Nice.
I was super proud of that.
Nice.
And then starting transitioning into coaching now, and so that's been quite a change. But
So, so 4 years at IUPUI, is that what you said?
Yeah,
And then came out with a degree in
criminal justice,
criminal justice.
which I don't recommend to people if you go into law enforcement.
Oh, really?
And my
What?
brother did the same thing. I told that stupid guy. I said, "Hey, like, don't you get a criminal justice degree?" And he did. He works for IMPD now.
Okay.
He's a real police up there.
Okay.
Sees the real stuff every day.
Wow.
But you don't need a criminal justice degree to be a cop.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, if you're going to go and be in law enforcement, get a degree in something you can, like, come back on, and, like, maybe an IT degree or maybe a business degree or something that you can actually use in the real world. Criminal justice degree is, unless you're going to be a lawyer, I don't know.
Right.
But,
Right.
but nonetheless,
Right.
it was a good time.
Cool.
I checked that box.
Did you always know that? I mean, like, so then transition from there, like, you always knew you wanted to go into
No,
criminal
I mean,
justice, or was that
so I had a neighbor growing up that was real influential in my life.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Virginia state trooper. Moved next door to us.
Okay.
And he was a Secret Service agent for a long, long time.
nice?
And then he transitioned to another smaller federal office.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up getting Lyme disease and has been in super bad shape for the last 9-10 years. But he was super influential in our lives. Real strong believers. Just real good people.
Wow.
And he influenced me to just to go into law enforcement, and my brother as well.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So your brother's in.
Yeah, he works up in Indianapolis.
Oh, he's the IMPD guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's just a year and a half younger than I am.
Okay.
So I'm 25 and he's 23 and a half, give or take. So.
Okay.
So where are you serving on the force then?
I work here at Center Grove Schools Police Department.
Okay.
We're pretty small and I love it.
So did you get on there right after
I didn't. So
school?
I'll back up a little bit. So after school, I actually did an internship at IUPUI through IUPUI. The airport has their own police department.
Okay.
Okay.
They have about 50 guys. It's not super small.
Right. That was pretty good size.
Yeah, not bad actually. And they sponsored me through the academy, and I went through the State Academy in Plainfield, and then spent about a year and a half at the airport police department.
Oh, wow.
I was kind of specialized in did a lot of their body cam work, got that program rolling, Spent a lot on the VPNs, like working with getting connectivity to the cars and like making sure in-car Wi-Fi works and stuff like that. That was kind of my internship through to going through the academy. Was kind of like the IT world, and I really liked it.
That's cool.
And they actually offered me to stay there with IT work, but I couldn't turn down the job here down on the south side.
Yeah.
And get out of Marion County.
Yeah.
So
from there, you came down here and got an opportunity at the Center Grove.
So Jason Beck's our lieutenant right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mutual friends. I met him, and he's like, "Hey, man, we're hiring 2 people," and myself and another officer who's my sergeant now got on. So it's just connections, man. That's all it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and they're good crew.
I love the guys I work with.
Yeah.
It's great if you like want to work at your IMPDs where there's 1,500 people.
Right.
I absolutely love working with 6 or 7 people and
Right.
building a community and everybody, and it's just a little different, and I love it. Love working with the kids.
Yeah.
So tennis has given me that outlet as well.
I was gonna say, so where does the tennis thing come back into play?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like I see my players in the halls.
Right.
While I'm in uniform, and it's pretty cool. I can check on them all the time, and it's not from like a teacher. I'm not a teacher, right? I'm not a PE guy. I'm not a social studies guy. Like I don't see them in the classroom, but I'm able to walk through any school I want to and go see my kids and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Or let's check up on this missing assignment, or how's this going? Or so that's really enjoyable.
That's
to me.
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a super small community. I mean, we've got 2,600 kids, give or take, in the high school. It's a lot of people.
That is.
Yeah.
But when you find like your niche, which for me is tennis, it's fun.
And how many kids are in the tennis group? I mean, we have 2,600 in the school, but how many are in the tennis?
On the tennis team?
Yeah.
Well, we push usually like 20 to 30 kids, pretty small, a year on the varsity and JV team.
Okay.
So girls, so double that. So that's 60, give or take. And then we got the middle school program.
Right.
And then the summer program, we had, I don't know our numbers this year, but we were over 500 kids last year.
Oh, wow.
So I think we were the second biggest programs in the state.
Wow.
Second to North Central.
So you have seen a lot of these kids even prior to them hitting the high school or even getting in the program.
We see them in elementary school.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
we've
That's
got.
awesome.
So we start. I mean, we do youth progression all the way up to the what we consider the competitive tournament playing group.
Okay.
So the little kids are, we got 5, 6-year-olds out there.
Right.
Yeah. Ashley Fisk was our girl that had a shot at winning state last year, and she was in our groups from 5, 6 years old, and now she's helping out those 5 and 6 years old. So
that's awesome.
I obviously didn't know her when she was 5 and 6 because I mean I grew up actually in this program.
Right.
But it's cool to see like how everything's like circular.
Yes.
That is cool.
But I love it. Absolutely love it.
That's really cool.
So
well, along the way from IUPUI to becoming a school resource officer and tennis coach, what's one of the biggest challenges you think you've had to overcome over your adult development and growth into these things?
Like personal life,
or career, or
Yeah.
any of the lives that you,
Sure.
any of the 9 lives that you.
I feel like for me, I'm such a planner. I love to like, all right, this is what I'm doing, and this is where my life's going. And the Lord has different ideas a lot, right? And I feel like I've got my life planned out, and that's been my challenge. Like, so I didn't really touch on it, but my junior and senior year, I one of my passions, I love horses, and I actually got into horse training real hard junior and senior year. I thought I wanted to go to maybe Findlay University and join their equestrian program, and I was real into it. And like, so I feel like I had my life planned out, like maybe this is what I'm doing, or maybe I'm going to go try to play on the pro circuit, maybe if I'm healthy enough. And, doors open, doors close, and that would probably for me is just, being flexible and, taking what's in front of you and using your connections and just, letting the Lord lead. For me, is that's what it is.
So was there a shift there, or is it just something that just, okay, the door closed, it's just not going to work out, and therefore...
It's more so doors closing.
Okay.
That's what it feels like for me. Or doors opening, like getting this job at CG.
Yeah.
Was just by meeting, like talking with Jason and being like, hey, we got a spot open. And I'm like,
Nice.
well, that's a door, and you got to, prayerfully consider it and talk to your wife and your family and decide to make the jump. But I'd say that's probably been the biggest hurdle. Like, when I was 12, 13 years old, I was top 10 in the country as a tennis player, and I thought I was going to have a shot at playing pro.
Yeah.
And
so early on, those doors opened and closed. Only you recognize that early on, even in a high school career, that hey, you're probably not going to be able to go pro.
Yeah.
With this
and
elbow issue.
In athletics, every kid battles injuries. You're lucky if you don't.
Right.
My previous coaches, they're up at Zionsville now, and they had a kid who's top 5 in the world right now.
Oh wow!
We're beating kids that are top 5 in the world, and he had very similar, not similar injuries, but very, I mean, you'd say career-ending injuries, but he's came back from them. So
wow.
It's just a lot of it is luck. I mean, it's just, and can I stay healthy enough, and can I do the right things to get a chance to even get a shot at playing professionally, at least in tennis. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a tough sport on your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much of it is, but it is definitely a very intense.
It's a grind.
Yeah, like there's not just dancing around the court doesn't make it.
And the hard part about it too is it's a small motor skill sport. So the more time you take off and you get there, and like you're like, shoot, my hands aren't working the way that they were 2 weeks ago. When you take 2 weeks off.
Really?
And it's tough to go hard all the time, but that's what the best players are doing.
Yeah.
They don't take breaks, and that's bad for your body.
Right.
So
yeah.
Right.
But
so how do you balance that out?
Yeah, that's a great point. For my level right now, I'm just coaching high school, right? And so
Right.
kids get good breaks. I mean, we've got spring break, fall break, winter break.
Right. So they have some built-in breaks.
They've got built-in breaks, and so there's no real risk of super burnout.
Right.
Our top 2 kids right now, they play usually every other weekend for tournaments, and so they've got a good shot at getting burnout. And so we just got to stay on them and be like, hey man, are you still enjoying it? Are you still enjoying coming out here and hitting tennis balls? Like that's the heart of it. And for me, that's everything. Like if you don't enjoy it, and whether that be tennis or that be your sport, whether that be like your career, it's like, let's like step back and look at this.
Right.
You got to enjoy it.
Right.
So we had I just came from working out with a girl, and she was like, it feels like a chore a little bit to come to practice and even train a little bit. I'm like, okay, we need to take a step back and you need to take a week off.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And then you can't. This needs to be a release for you.
Right.
You need to come out here and be more stressed, and
Yeah.
especially for high schoolers that
They
are
have
probably not going to go play professionally.
Mhm.
You got to freaking love this.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how we try to balance it.
And so to that point, like, let me ask you this: like, when you're teaching somebody like that, how do you balance out the whole? Okay, so yes, you need to have a break, or versus, well, you kind of some of this you need to work through and grind through it and just continue with the constantly showing up for practice. You know, like I remember coaches being like, you got to go keep going through the grind some to get to the point where you can get better, so you can be where you want to be. Versus, take a break for a minute and come back to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say with at least the group we have right now, if they can spend 15 hours on the court a week, that's a good amount to see some real good progress. There's not a lot of players that we have right now that are spending 15, 20 hours a week. And so we don't actually see a ton of burnout.
Okay.
You have to be playing, at least from my experience and from what I'm seeing, at least for my guys and girls, you got to be playing tournaments every week, and you got to be playing 6 days a week to really get that.
Okay. So the rest of them, you're like, all right, come on, let's go.
Most of the time, it's like, hey, man, we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna push a little harder here.
Right.
If they come to you and express like, hey, I just don't want to be out here right now, I mean, that's fine. I'm not gonna hurt my feelings.
Right.
This is your life, and you need to step up and take responsibility for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
just have the hard.
We don't honestly. It's your top end guys and girls who are playing again 20 hours a week and playing tournaments every other weekend, and it's a grind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
As with any sport, I'm sure you guys know. I mean,
Right.
if you get deep into any sport, it's hard on kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm grateful that you guys are thinking of that and challenging your kids toward that. Do you feel excited about this, or is this a chore? Because our youth culture doesn't need any more stress.
Right.
No.
And this has got to be a way for them to, because like you said, how many actually get to make the cut, and move on in life?
Exactly.
That's so hard.
What a great opportunity for some of our kids, though, is there's a ton of scholarship money, especially for the girls' side because of Title IX.
Yeah.
A lot of our girls have opportunity to make have some really good scholarships.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's a real big deal and our guys too, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know how many we've had in the last handful of years, but we've had quite a few go and play, NAIA. Again, I'll go back to Ashley. Ashley's playing at NAIA at Indiana Wesleyan, and she's getting scholarship money, and so that's helping pay for school.
Right.
And so my mom and dad always joke. They're like, I didn't pay anything for college.
Nice.
Other than my first semester. And my mom and dad were like, well, you saved 40, 50 grand, right? But we spent like 200 on you. And I'm like, that's fair, I guess,
Yeah.
But they've got some good opportunities if they push through and they really decide to give it their all.
Yeah, I've got my daughter just finished 4 years at University of Evansville.
Okay.
She was a D1 diver. And
okay, so you know all about it.
Yeah, and at one point she's like, I just don't know about this. And we're like, this is your job. This is paying for school. You can go get a part-time job outside of class, or you can keep diving. And she's like, well, I'll dive.
Exactly.
I love it,
Yeah.
Right.
But we've got a mutual friend from years ago that when he had a daughter, he was like, she's going to learn to play the harp. Because if she learns to play the harp, she can go to any school in the world. There's scholarship money for harpists everywhere.
That's
so I don't
great.
care if she's good or not.
Yeah.
She's going to get scholarships.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's one way to think about it. Sometimes
It's tough for
as
like
parents.
some sports, right? Like you think football or baseball or
man.
Yeah.
your big
basketball
three
and-
sports.
Right.
It's hard, but like you can get in a kind of niche sport like tennis, like something that's a little bit smaller, or golf or swimming, or something that's not as mainstream. There's some great opportunities if you've got some talent and you put some work in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you do a decent job at it.
And
Absolutely.
I'm not sold on college. Like I don't think it's for everybody.
Right.
We've got a kid that'll probably play varsity next year for us. Is a great tennis player for high school, and he probably won't go to college. And I'm like, I support that and I stand by you.
Right.
100%.
You got to figure out, what works for you.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
No. Chris hired one of my sons fresh out of high school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Learning trade.
He's doing phenomenal.
Apprenticing. And so
Yeah.
I am all for paid college.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
It's a great deal.
Totally.
so
Going in, a couple $100,000 in debt or for, a gen ed degree.
Yes.
I mean,
Not
right.
exactly the
That's
best
not-
answer.
I don't think so.
So what's your favorite part of coaching?
Wow. Man, I just love seeing progress out of these kids.
Okay.
I love game planning for stuff that we've got like film on, or we've got it like someone's like, hey, we know this team plays this way, or we know this guy plays this way, and we train and prep for it all week, or shoot, we may prep for a certain skill for 6 months. And I just love seeing the kids get excited about progress.
Cool.
You like see a fire. We were talking earlier. It's like your daughter's seeing some progress. Like your
Yes.
daughter plays tennis, and she's like, "Man, I'm catching these kids. I'm beating some of these kids. Maybe I didn't think I could beat before."
Right.
And then they catch on fire, and they get that passion for that
Right.
sport. That's exciting for me because I remember that as a kid.
To the point I'm getting 2 texts today to have a conversation
Right.
with you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, would you stop it? I get the point. Yeah. But my daughter's not old enough for me to have that experience with her yet. But I would assume that's awesome to see as a parent.
Yeah.
For them to
I'm
see
excited.
like the passion for something,
Right.
and then excited.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
probably makes you happy. I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a coach, that makes me that's everything to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the same thing on the other side within your SRO role.
Yeah.
What's the best part of what you do through the schools and law enforcement?
Yeah, there's been a big push for have community policing. I don't want to give like a cop-out answer. But community policing has been big in the last 15, 20 years. That kind of term. But for me, that's it because again, we have a 6-man department, and we've got. I think when I got on, I was told I would have to run the numbers again, but I think we had close to 10,000 kids and faculty in all of our buildings. So like if you think about it like as a city, and I could be off on my numbers, but just give or take, we got thousands, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Easily.
It's even if it's close to that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So if we've got that many people, it's like our own city.
Right.
And so and there's only 6 of us to go around and actually build those relationships
Right.
with, your principals and your teachers and your kids.
Right.
And there's a lot of good that we get to do
Right.
and be the positive.
Right.
Right.
We don't have a quota to go write tickets.
Right.
We don't have to, stop everybody. And
Right.
we don't have to make arrests like all the time like IMPD or Greenwood or Johnson County does.
Right.
So we're just different. So
Right.
that's again, that's probably a pretty standard SRO answer. If you ask any SRO, like, what do you like? I'm like, well, building relationships. But that's what we do.
Right.
Right.
That's truly it.
Yeah.
So
That's an awesome place to be.
That's cool.
I know there's plenty of people that have benefited from the fact that you guys are there and available and had conversations, and also helped people realize that it's okay to be friends with you, with police officers like yourself.
It's cool, like at the end of the year when you're at graduation and you have got kids come up to take pictures with you. And and then you get like, here's my graduation or my open house invitation.
Yeah.
Like, we'd love to see you. Like, that's cool. You don't see that
cool.
as a normal police officer often.
Right.
You know?
So let me ask you this. So now, since you brought that up, the person that's made a huge influence on you to be in this situation, the Virginia State Trooper, has he done or said anything that you've been able to pass that on to some of these younger generations that you're influencing now?
That's a good question.
Because my guess is you're doing what he did for you, several of these kids. But I'm just curious to know.
You're saying as influential as he was for me,
Yeah,
am
like
I able
what,
to?
or what's maybe one piece of advice that you've been able to pass on from him that you were able to give to these kids?
Yeah. I would say some of the most influential stuff that he's given to me is, so like in policing you have it's kind of like a hierarchy. You got your old heads, right? You guys have been there, 20, 30 years, and then you got your new guys coming on. And him as a Virginia State Trooper, like, he was a young gun. He was running, and like the respect he had for some of those guys, like, just absolutely rubbed off. I mean, that just made me want to be someone that is respected like that as well.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, again, a lot of that was the passion. He had a true passion for law enforcement, and his was different than mine.
Right.
He was running, on the highway all the time, and he was a Secret Service agent protecting, the president and doing all those details, and so it was quite a bit different policing.
Right.
But still enough to rub off on me and find my own path through it.
Yeah.
So,
because there's many opportunities in the.
There's so much. So, for example, like, he went from Secret Service to he went to the OIG, Office of Inspector General, and the OIG has their own federal agents for every branch, and he was in the Postal Division. And so, like, there's so many, like, real small, like, investigative.
Wow, I didn't even know
divisions.
that.
Yeah, exactly. One of my internships was with the DEA, actually.
Really?
They were like, come on, put an app in. And I'm like, I'm not going to Buffalo. Like, I'm not going to Miami.
Right.
I was married at the time. Like, I can't swing that, man.
Right.
So, but you're right. There's a ton of opportunities. And this is one that's been afforded to me, and again, I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're a pretty upbeat guy. You seem optimistic, and man, you are. How. I'm curious, how did you process some of the, just put it in the sports terms, the losses along the way? Whether that was just a simple match or a tournament, when you were growing up, or, hey, I've got, some injuries that are going to keep me from going pro, or, along the ways through college, or, law enforcement, that you're just like, I could let these things get me down, but I'm going to choose a different path. How do you process some of those things? Yeah,
I mean, for me personally, I just have to go and reset. I mean, if someone that's big, right? I mean, a loss of a tournament. I mean, I remember, like, crying for hours because that tennis meant that much to me. Like, when I was younger, shoot, I cried as a teenager when I lost matches that meant that much.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, it meant so much that I puke before matches. I was that anxious of a player.
Wow.
But for me, it's like I had to take a step back and just be like, okay, all right, where do we go from here? And it's easy to get down.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
What does reset look like for you?
Just time away.
Okay.
Time away and processing on my own. And getting away from everybody and getting alone and just think, okay, all right, where do we go from here? I don't know. I joke, like, with myself mentally a lot of times. I'm like, I'm super blessed. My dad tells me all the time, he goes, like, anything you touch, it seems like it works out for you.
Right.
And a lot of them, deep down, I'm like, okay, when's the next big break? Like, not in a good way, but in a bad way. Like, when is the next thing that I'm going to have to experience? And Lord knows if I would ever made it pro. Probably not, right? Chances are not. That was my life, and like my world fell at that point. But that's small. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, looking back, I'm like, look where I'm at now.
Right.
I'm in a great spot.
Right.
I don't know.
You definitely have.
I've been blessed. I've been blessed.
You definitely have huge influence now, differently than you had if you had been gone pro. You know what I mean? Like,
Probably.
You'd have influenced people, but not near to the degree or the depth that you do now.
Yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that.
No, that's
off.
good. No. So you're working directly with kids, whether you're in your law enforcement role or your coaching role. And so indirectly you're working with families. What kind of message do you hope that, our parents or our families are getting through, through and for our kids today? What are some of the wisdom things that you would hope that, parents, let's focus on this with our kids?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Man, I would just say personal responsibility. I feel like, especially on our older kids, we tend, and maybe I'm not super old, but I feel like what I have seen in the last 4 or 5 years is when something wrong happens, let's push it off on someone else. Like let's go ahead and shift that blame, right? And it's it's that teacher's fault, or it's the kid's fault, or it's mom and dad's fault, and it's easy to do, right? We all do it. I would just say instilling and say, hey, we made this decision, and now these actions have consequences, and let's figure out a way to get through it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We've all done stupid stuff as kids. We all make mistakes.
Right.
We make mistakes as adults.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to make the bed you sleep in. And it's not like I'm trying to be tough here and I'm being militaristic with my kid.
Okay.
But it's like, let's teach them some responsibility. And there are a lot of kids that are still parented that way. But that's what I would love to see these parents push on their kids more and let them fly. Like, there's a lot of helicopter parents. Personally, I think. Like I got to do everything for you. I got to make sure everything's like T's are crossed, I's are dotted. And it's like, let's let these kids figure this out. Especially our older kids, right?
Right.
Especially when you're high school. Like,
kids.
we're gonna let you do stuff, and I'm gonna help you, and we'll hold your hand along the way.
Right.
But I'll guide you through this.
Right.
So, I would say that probably.
That's good.
Yeah, I have a 1-year-old daughter at home.
Yeah, so you're new to the parenting.
So it's weird because like I work in a school, right? I'm a young guy. I work in a school. I see all these parents parenting the kids. I'm a coach.
Yeah.
I'm coaching these kids, and now I got to figure out how to navigate this with my family
Right.
going forward. So I feel like I'm gonna be like just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's like, don't mess my kids up.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah, because being the objective outside eyes is a lot easier than being the one 24/7 on the ground. And
yeah.
Especially, yep.
It's easy if I've got your kid in class, right?
Right.
And I can yell at your kid for doing something stupid, but like, wait, should I yell at my kid or should I let another coach do that? Like, So
Yeah.
I don't care if my kids play tennis. I really don't. I want them to
Find their passion.
I told my wife all the time, I said, I don't care if she goes and dances. I don't care if she does art. She goes and plays an instrument. I don't care what it is. Just do it and work hard at it.
And love
Right.
it.
And love, exactly,
Love it.
bingo. Yeah.
Love it.
Have a passion for it.
Yeah.
If you don't, let's get out. I didn't hit on it. I got burnout big time because I was pushing 6 days a week, and I was pushing 20, 25 hours on the court, off-court stuff, off-court training, and then I got burnout. And I didn't feel like I could say no at that point because I was so far in. My parents had put in so much money. I had spent so much of my life, and I didn't feel like I could say no. So I have like a passion for that. Like when, again, if I go back, I just worked with that girl, and she's like, it feels like a little bit of a chore.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I've been there. This is when we back off.
Right.
I'll talk to your mom and dad. I don't care.
Right.
Right.
We're going to get this to where you still love and have a passion for it. So that's exactly right. You got to have a passion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's good.
That's cool stuff. Well, how does somebody find out about you if they want some tennis lessons? do you just coach kids, or do you coach some adults as well?
I don't really do many adults.
Okay.
Back in college, I did.
New tricks,
Not
right?
yet.
Yeah.
No. Oh, you're
No,
on.
not-
You're on the waiting list.
I'm on the waiting list.
Go out. We got a huge pickleball community now. I'm telling this guy about
that's
it
true.
forever, and
Yeah,
he won't
that's
go out
true.
and play pickleball.
I'm still trying to schedule it in.
It's too busy over here.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
how do we get a hold of you?
We can just run it through our Center Grove. You can
Yeah.
contact us. We have a Facebook page. That's just
Perfect.
Center Grove Tennis, and that's the easiest way.
The easiest way?
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing your wisdom. It's great to chat with you and great to catch up on what so many things that are going on.
For sure.
And I love your energy and your passion
Yeah.
and everything you're doing. So
Yeah.
we wish you the best and stay in touch.
Will do.
So
Yeah.
All right.
And when you take adult lessons on, I know your first customer.
right, there you go.
Right here. This guy.
Right here.
That's right. That's right. I'll come play too.
Yeah.
All right. We'll
I'd
get it
love
going.
to. I'd love to.
Get some doubles going.
There you go.
Right on. Hey, thanks,
All right.
David.
Thanks, Dave.
Pleasure.
We'll
Thank you,
catch you guys here again in just a moment.
Jason, that was really good. I knew I was going to enjoy hanging out with him, and you called it out in the middle of it. Like, his upbeat attitude is it's infectious.
It is.
And I just love chatting with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for introducing him to me, man.
Yeah.
This is my first time getting to know David, and that was really cool.
Yeah. So
cool
and honestly, I just got to know him recently within the last 6 months to a year. With my daughter being involved with the tennis stuff. So
Yeah.
just a phenomenal guy and just love his attitude and just, he's got so much going for him and such an impact he's making
Yeah.
with the police department. And then on top of that, hanging out with the kids with the tennis and his heart is definitely in both places.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's definitely is. I think he's shared that with us really well today.
Right.
But yeah, it was just great to see where all that passion came from in his life.
And I tell you, having kids who have gone through sports, not tennis. I had a soccer player and a diver. Having them go through it, at high levels of competition through their youth, I was very just relieved and pleased to hear of how he watches his kids for burnout and is always asking and challenging them, are you really enjoying this? Is this a release? Is this a relief to come rather than a chore? Or, our kids don't need added anxiety these days.
Right.
And so I love that he's, challenging these kids going like, no, take a break.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't enjoy this, take a break.
Right.
Let's get this where you do enjoy it.
Right.
And I loved that aspect. That was really cool. That actually kind of ties into the whole leadership principle we talked about earlier about, what do you truly enjoy and how does that give you energy?
Yes.
And he's leading in that way with our kids and our schools and building cool relationships with, I think he mentioned before we went on the air with him that he's got a canine unit that he takes into the classrooms and through his work with the dog and the kids, just building relationships and that's so needed in our culture in our schools today. Yes,
I completely agree. So thanks again, Dave, for hanging out with us today, and we obviously thanks for you guys listening. And so if you have any questions or we missed something, just shoot us an email. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know what you're thinking. And
give us a like, subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. We do have videos hitting YouTube lately.
We do?
The YouTube.
The YouTube? Well, that's
something
cool.
like that. Yeah, you can see. Yeah.
You can actually see our facial expressions while we're making all these silly.
We just lost 100 listeners. Hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and have a great summer as we wind it down. I feel like we just started it, and now we're winding it down and saying, hey, fall's here.
Right.
School starts in like 2.5, 3 weeks.
Already?
Yeah. I'm sorry I said that. Yeah. Hey, guys, have a great day.
Thanks.
We'll catch you later.